Question 1. What is an essential aspect of understanding federal, state, and local laws for law enforcement officers? A. Memorizing all statutes and regulations. B. Being aware of the general principles and procedures outlined in the laws. C. Relying solely on departmental guidelines. D. Following the advice of senior officers. Correct answer: B. Being aware of the general principles and procedures outlined in the laws. Explanation: law enforcement officers must have a comprehensive understanding of federal, state, and local laws. While memorizing specific statutes is helpful, it's more crucial for officers to grasp the general principles and procedures outlined in these laws. This allows them to apply legal standards effectively in various situations they encounter on duty. Relying solely on departmental guidelines or senior officers' advice may not always provide the necessary legal grounding required for effective law enforcement. Question 2. During a traffic stop, what constitutional right must law enforcement officers adhere to? A. The right to a speedy trial. B. The right to bear arms. C. The right against self-incrimination. D. The right to privacy in one's vehicle. Correct answer: D. The right to privacy in one's vehicle. Explanation: the Fourth Amendment protects individuals from unreasonable searches and seizures, including during traffic stops. Law enforcement officers must respect the right to privacy in a person's vehicle unless there is probable cause or reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. This means officers cannot conduct a search of the vehicle without consent, a warrant, or exigent circumstances. Understanding and respecting constitutional rights, such as the right to privacy, are fundamental aspects of effective law enforcement. Question 3. Ms. Rodriguez, a police officer, responds to a domestic dispute call involving Mr. Johnson and his partner. Upon arrival, Ms. Rodriguez notices signs of physical altercation between the couple. Mr. Johnson appears agitated and refuses to cooperate with the officers. What should Officer Rodriguez prioritize in this situation? A. Immediately arresting Mr. Johnson to prevent further escalation. B. Engaging in dialogue with Mr. Johnson to de-escalate the situation. C. Requesting backup before approaching Mr. Johnson. D. Ignoring Mr. Johnson's behavior and focusing solely on the partner's safety. Correct answer: B. Engaging in dialogue with Mr. Johnson to de-escalate the situation. Explanation: in domestic dispute situations, de-escalation is crucial to prevent further harm and maintain the safety of all individuals involved. Officer Rodriguez should prioritize engaging in dialogue with Mr. Johnson to calm the situation and encourage cooperation. Arresting Mr. Johnson immediately may escalate tensions and potentially worsen the situation. Requesting backup is a good precautionary measure but should not delay initial attempts at de-escalation. Ignoring Mr. Johnson's behavior is not an option, as it could lead to overlooking potential threats to safety. Effective communication and de-escalation techniques are essential skills for law enforcement officers when responding to domestic disputes. Question 4. What is a fundamental principle of patrol operations aimed at crime prevention? A. Reactive response to criminal activities. B. Randomly patrolling without specific objectives. C. Establishing a visible police presence in high crime areas. D. Avoiding interaction with community members. Correct answer: C. Establishing a visible police presence in high crime areas. Explanation: patrol operations play a crucial role in crime prevention by deterring criminal activities and reassuring community members of law enforcement's presence. Establishing a visible police presence in high crime areas helps to deter potential offenders and provides a sense of security to residents. Reactive responses are often less effective in preventing crime compared to proactive measures such as targeted patrols. Random patrolling without specific objectives may not effectively address crime hotspots. Interaction with community members is essential for gathering intelligence and fostering trust, contrary to avoiding it. Question 5. What is a primary objective of crisis negotiation techniques in law enforcement? A. Coercing suspects into surrendering. B. Ending the crisis as quickly as possible. C. Establishing rapport and communication with individuals in crisis. D. Using force to subdue individuals in crisis situations. Correct answer. C. Establishing rapport and communication with individuals in crisis. Explanation. Crisis negotiation techniques aim to establish rapport and open lines of communication with individuals in crisis situations. Building trust and understanding the individual's perspective are crucial steps in resolving the crisis peacefully and safely. Coercion and forceful tactics can escalate the situation and potentially endanger lives. While resolving the crisis efficiently is important, it should not compromise the safety of all involved parties. Effective crisis negotiation relies on empathy, active listening, and de-escalation strategies to achieve a peaceful resolution. Question 6. Which of the following is a key aspect of effective leadership in law enforcement? A. Micromanaging team members. B. Leading by intimidation. C. Encouraging open communication and collaboration. D. Making unilateral decisions without consulting the team. Correct answer. C. Encouraging open communication and collaboration. Explanation. Effective leadership in law enforcement involves fostering an environment of trust, respect, and open communication among team members. Micromanaging can stifle creativity and demotivate officers, leading to decreased morale and productivity. Leading by intimidation creates a hostile work environment and undermines team cohesion. Encouraging open communication and collaboration allows for the exchange of ideas, problem solving, and mutual support within the team. Consulting the team before making decisions promotes transparency and inclusivity, contributing to overall organizational effectiveness. Question 7. What role does cultural competency play in law enforcement interactions? A. It is irrelevant to effective policing. B. It helps officers better understand and serve diverse communities. C. It leads to discrimination and bias in policing. D. It is solely the responsibility of community leaders, not law enforcement. Correct answer. B. It helps officers better understand and serve diverse communities. Explanation. Cultural competency is essential for law enforcement officers to effectively interact with individuals from diverse backgrounds and communities. Understanding cultural norms, values, and communication styles fosters trust and cooperation between law enforcement and community members. It also helps officers recognize and address potential biases and prejudices in their interactions. While cultural competency training is important, it should be integrated into broader efforts to promote fair and impartial policing. Neglecting cultural competency can lead to misunderstandings, mistrust, and ineffective policing strategies. Question 8. What is the primary purpose of report writing in law enforcement? A. Documenting every detail of an incident. B. Providing a narrative for entertainment purposes. C. Communicating relevant information for legal and administrative purposes. D. Keeping officers occupied during downtime. Correct answer. C. Communicating relevant information for legal and administrative purposes. Explanation. Report writing in law enforcement serves the critical purpose of documenting incidents, investigations, and arrests for legal and administrative purposes. Reports provide a factual account of events, including observations, actions taken, and evidence collected, which can be used in court proceedings and administrative reviews. Writing clear, concise, and accurate reports is essential for maintaining the integrity of case documentation and ensuring accountability within the criminal justice system. While thoroughness is important, reports should focus on relevant information necessary for legal and administrative purposes rather than documenting every detail. Question 9. What is the significance of digital forensics in modern law enforcement? A. It allows officers to manipulate evidence to fit their narrative. B. It helps officers track suspects' social media activities for personal gain. C. It provides tools to investigate and prosecute cybercrimes effectively. D. It is primarily used to violate individuals' privacy rights. Correct answer. C. It provides tools to investigate and prosecute cybercrimes effectively. Explanation. Digital forensics plays a crucial role in modern law enforcement by providing tools and techniques to investigate and prosecute cybercrimes effectively. It involves the collection, preservation, and analysis of digital evidence from computers, mobile devices, and online platforms. Digital forensics enables law enforcement agencies to uncover electronic evidence, such as emails, chat logs, and file metadata, which can be used to identify suspects and establish criminal activities. While it enhances law enforcement capabilities in combating cybercrimes, adherence to legal and ethical standards is paramount to protect individuals' privacy rights and ensure the integrity of digital evidence. Question 10. What is the primary goal of community engagement in law enforcement? A. To increase the number of arrests made in the community. B. To build trust and cooperation between law enforcement and community members. C. To gather intelligence for surveillance purposes. D. To establish a paramilitary presence in the community. Correct answer. B. To build trust and cooperation between law enforcement and community members. Explanation. The primary goal of community engagement in law enforcement is to build trust and cooperation between law enforcement agencies and the communities they serve. By fostering positive relationships, law enforcement can gain valuable support from community members in preventing crime, solving cases, and promoting public safety. Community engagement initiatives, such as neighborhood watch programs, outreach events, and collaborative problem-solving efforts, strengthen the bond between police officers and residents. Building trust is essential for effective policing, as it encourages community members to report crimes, provide information, and work together with law enforcement to address local concerns. Question 11. What is the primary purpose of the Miranda rights in law enforcement? A. To inform suspects of their right to an attorney. B. To inform suspects of their right to remain silent. C. To inform suspects of their right to a fair trial. D. To inform suspects of their right to bail. Correct answer. B. To inform suspects of their right to remain silent. Explanation. The Miranda rights, derived from the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution, are designed to protect individuals' rights against self-incrimination during police interrogations. These rights include the right to remain silent and the right to legal counsel. Law enforcement officers are required to inform suspects of their Miranda rights before conducting custodial interrogations. Failure to do so may result in the exclusion of any statements obtained during the interrogation from being used as evidence in court. Understanding and respecting Miranda rights are fundamental aspects of ethical and legal conduct in law enforcement. Question 12. Officer Smith responds to a call regarding a suspected burglary in progress at a residential property. Upon arrival, Officer Smith notices a broken window and hears noises coming from inside the house. What should Officer Smith do next? A. Enter the house immediately to apprehend the suspect. B. Call for backup and wait for additional officers to arrive. C. Secure the perimeter and wait for the suspect to exit voluntarily. D. Knock on the door and announce the presence of law enforcement. Correct answer. B. Call for backup and wait for additional officers to arrive. Explanation. In situations involving a suspected burglary or potential threat to officer safety, it is essential for the responding officer to prioritize personal safety and wait for backup before taking further action. Calling for backup ensures that there are additional officers available to assist in securing the scene, conducting a thorough search of the property, and apprehending any suspects. Entering the premises alone may place Officer Smith at risk and compromise the effectiveness of law enforcement response. Securing the perimeter and establishing a containment strategy help prevent suspects from fleeing and facilitate a coordinated approach to resolving the situation safely. Question 13. What is the purpose of the exclusionary rule in criminal law? A. To allow illegally obtained evidence to be admissible in court. B. To protect individuals from unreasonable searches and seizures. C. To expedite the criminal justice process by admitting all evidence. D. To allow law enforcement officers to use any means necessary to obtain evidence. Correct answer. B. To protect individuals from unreasonable searches and seizures. Explanation. The exclusionary rule is a legal principle that prohibits the use of evidence obtained in violation of the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. It aims to deter law enforcement officers from engaging in unconstitutional conduct by excluding illegally obtained evidence from being admitted in court proceedings. The rule serves to safeguard individuals' constitutional rights and uphold the integrity of the criminal justice system. Allowing illegally obtained evidence to be admissible would undermine the Fourth Amendment's protections and potentially infringe on individuals' privacy rights. Question 14. Which of the following is an example of a nonverbal communication skill important for law enforcement officers? A. Using complex legal terminology during interactions. B. Maintaining appropriate eye contact during conversations. C. Speaking loudly to assert authority. D. Interrupting others while they are speaking. Correct answer. B. Maintaining appropriate eye contact during conversations. Explanation. Nonverbal communication, such as body language and facial expressions, plays a significant role in law enforcement interactions. Maintaining appropriate eye contact during conversations conveys attentiveness, respect, and sincerity, which can help establish rapport and facilitate effective communication. It demonstrates active listening and engagement with the individual being spoken to, fostering trust and cooperation. Using complex legal terminology may confuse or intimidate individuals, hindering effective communication. Speaking loudly or interrupting others can be perceived as aggressive or disrespectful, potentially escalating tensions in interactions. Question 15. What is the primary objective of crisis negotiation techniques in law enforcement? A. To coerce suspects into surrendering. B. To de-escalate volatile situations and achieve a peaceful resolution. C. To intimidate suspects into compliance. D. To use force to subdue individuals in crisis situations. Correct answer. B. To de-escalate volatile situations and achieve a peaceful resolution. Explanation. Crisis negotiation techniques in law enforcement focus on de-escalating volatile situations and achieving peaceful resolutions without resorting to the use of force. These techniques involve establishing rapport, active listening, and empathy to communicate effectively with individuals in crisis. Coercion or intimidation tactics can exacerbate the situation and potentially endanger lives. While the ultimate goal is to ensure public safety and resolve the crisis, the use of force should be considered only as a last resort when all other options have been exhausted. Crisis negotiation requires patience, empathy, and skilled communication to navigate complex and high-stakes situations effectively. Question 16. Which of the following statements best describes the concept of probable cause in law enforcement? A. Probable cause requires absolute certainty of criminal activity before taking action. B. Probable cause is established solely based on an officer's intuition or gut feeling. C. Probable cause exists when there is sufficient evidence to believe that a crime has been committed or is about to be committed. D. Probable cause is only relevant in civil cases, not criminal cases. Correct answer. C. Probable cause exists when there is sufficient evidence to believe that a crime has been committed or is about to be committed. Explanation. Probable cause is a legal standard in criminal law that requires sufficient evidence or facts to believe that a crime has been committed or is about to be committed. It is based on objective facts and circumstances that would lead a reasonable person to believe that a crime has occurred. Probable cause is necessary for law enforcement officers to obtain search warrants, make arrests, or conduct searches and seizures. It serves as a safeguard against arbitrary or unreasonable actions by law enforcement and ensures that interventions are based on credible evidence of criminal activity. Question 17. What is the primary purpose of community policing strategies in law enforcement? A. To increase police presence in communities. B. To shift responsibility for crime prevention solely to community members. C. To build partnerships between law enforcement agencies and community members. D. To enforce strict curfews and surveillance measures in neighborhoods. Correct answer. C. To build partnerships between law enforcement agencies and community members. Explanation. Community policing strategies aim to build collaborative partnerships between law enforcement agencies and community members to address crime and public safety issues effectively. These strategies involve engaging with residents, local organizations, and stakeholders to identify and prioritize community concerns, develop tailored solutions, and implement proactive crime prevention initiatives. By fostering trust, communication, and mutual respect, community policing enhances public trust in law enforcement and promotes shared responsibility for maintaining safe and healthy communities. It emphasizes problem-solving, crime prevention, and community engagement over traditional law enforcement approaches focused solely on reactive responses to crime. Question 18. What is the significance of the chain of custody in law enforcement investigations? A. It ensures that evidence is handled and preserved properly to maintain its integrity and admissibility in court. B. It allows law enforcement officers to tamper with or alter evidence to fit their narrative. C. It provides opportunities for unauthorized individuals to access and manipulate evidence. D. It is a bureaucratic requirement with no practical importance in investigations. Correct answer. A. It ensures that evidence is handled and preserved properly to maintain its integrity and admissibility in court. Explanation. The chain of custody is a procedural protocol used in law enforcement investigations to document the handling and custody of evidence from the time it is collected until it is presented in court. It ensures that evidence is properly preserved, stored, and documented to maintain its integrity and admissibility in legal proceedings. Each person who handles the evidence must document their actions and maintain a chronological record of custody transfers. This helps prevent contamination, tampering, or loss of evidence, which could compromise its reliability and credibility in court. Adhering to the chain of custody protocol is essential for upholding the evidentiary standards necessary for fair and impartial judicial proceedings. Question 19. Which of the following is a fundamental principle of effective crisis intervention techniques in law enforcement? A. Using forceful tactics to quickly resolve the situation. B. Empathizing with individuals in crisis and understanding their perspective. C. Ignoring the emotional needs of individuals in crisis. D. Minimizing communication with individuals in crisis to avoid escalation. Correct answer. B. Empathizing with individuals in crisis and understanding their perspective. Explanation. Effective crisis intervention techniques in law enforcement prioritize empathy, active listening, and understanding individuals' perspectives to de-escalate volatile situations and provide appropriate support and assistance. Empathy helps build rapport and trust with individuals in crisis, encouraging open communication and cooperation. Understanding their perspective allows law enforcement officers to assess the situation accurately and tailor interventions to address underlying needs and concerns. Using forceful tactics or ignoring emotional needs can escalate tensions and exacerbate the crisis. Effective crisis intervention requires sensitivity, patience, and skilled communication to promote positive outcomes and ensure the safety and well-being of all involved parties. Question 20. What is the primary purpose of the National Incident Management System, NIMS, in emergency response? A. To centralize all emergency response efforts under federal control. B. To provide standardized procedures and protocols for coordinated emergency response at all levels of government. C. To prioritize the safety of law enforcement officers over other emergency responders. D. To restrict access to emergency response resources based on jurisdictional boundaries. Correct answer. B. To provide standardized procedures and protocols for coordinated emergency response at all levels of government. Explanation. The National Incident Management System, NIMS, is a comprehensive framework established by the federal government to enhance coordination and interoperability in emergency response efforts across all levels of government, agencies, and jurisdictions. It provides standardized procedures, protocols, and terminology for managing incidents, regardless of their size or complexity, to ensure a coordinated and effective response. NIMS promotes collaboration, communication, and resource sharing among emergency responders, including law enforcement, fire services, emergency medical services, and public health agencies. By establishing a common operating structure and language, NIMS improves the efficiency, effectiveness, and resilience of emergency response operations, ultimately enhancing public safety and community preparedness. Question 21. What is the purpose of the Fourth Amendment in the context of law enforcement? A. To provide individuals with the right to bear arms. B. To ensure freedom of speech and expression. C. To protect against unreasonable searches and seizures by law enforcement. D. To establish the right to a fair and speedy trial. Correct answer. C. To protect against unreasonable searches and seizures by law enforcement. Explanation. The Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution safeguards individuals' privacy rights by prohibiting unreasonable searches and seizures conducted by law enforcement agencies. It requires law enforcement officers to obtain warrants based on probable cause before conducting searches or seizures, except in certain exigent circumstances. The amendment aims to prevent arbitrary invasions of privacy and protect individuals from unwarranted government intrusion into their persons, homes, papers, and effects. Understanding the limitations imposed by the Fourth Amendment is essential for law enforcement officers to conduct lawful investigations while respecting individuals' constitutional rights. Question 22. In the context of law enforcement, what does the term use of force continuum refer to? A. A set of guidelines outlining the maximum force permissible in any situation. B. A systematic approach to de-escalating conflicts without resorting to force. C. A range of actions and responses available to law enforcement officers, escalating from verbal commands to lethal force, based on the level of threat encountered. D. A legal doctrine permitting law enforcement officers to use force at their discretion. Correct answer. C. A range of actions and responses available to law enforcement officers, escalating from verbal commands to lethal force, based on the level of threat encountered. Explanation. The use of force continuum is a concept used in law enforcement to guide officers' response to resistance or aggression encountered during interactions with individuals. It outlines a range of actions and responses, escalating from verbal commands and physical control techniques to less lethal options and, in extreme cases, lethal force, based on the level of threat posed by the subject. The continuum emphasizes the importance of proportionality, necessity, and reasonableness in the use of force by law enforcement officers, taking into account factors such as the severity of the threat, the risk to public safety, and the availability of alternative means of control. Adherence to the use of force continuum helps mitigate the risk of excessive force and ensures the safety of both officers and the public. Question 23. Officer Ramirez responds to a call reporting a disturbance at a local park. Upon arrival, Officer Ramirez encounters a group of individuals engaged in a heated argument. One person in the group, Mr. Thompson, appears agitated and confrontational, but there is no physical violence. What should Officer Ramirez prioritize in this situation? A. Immediately arresting Mr. Thompson to prevent escalation. B. Establishing a dialogue with Mr. Thompson to de-escalate the situation. C. Using physical force to subdue Mr. Thompson and restore order. D. Ignoring Mr. Thompson's behavior and focusing on other individuals in the group. Correct answer. B. Establishing a dialogue with Mr. Thompson to de-escalate the situation. Explanation. In situations involving verbal disputes and agitation, de-escalation techniques are crucial for maintaining control and preventing escalation to violence. Officer Ramirez should prioritize establishing a dialogue with Mr. Thompson to address his concerns, calm the situation, and prevent further conflict. Arresting Mr. Thompson immediately may escalate tensions and exacerbate the situation unnecessarily. Using physical force should be considered only as a last resort when all other de-escalation efforts have failed and there is an imminent threat of harm. Ignoring Mr. Thompson's behavior may allow the situation to escalate further, compromising public safety. Effective communication and de-escalation skills are essential tools for law enforcement officers in managing conflicts and maintaining order in diverse community settings. Question 24. What is the significance of the plain view doctrine in law enforcement? A. It allows law enforcement officers to conduct searches without a warrant based on probable cause. B. It permits law enforcement officers to use force against individuals who pose a perceived threat. C. It allows law enforcement officers to seize evidence found in plain view during a lawful observation. D. It restricts law enforcement officers from using certain types of evidence in court proceedings. Correct answer. C. It allows law enforcement officers to seize evidence found in plain view during a lawful observation. Explanation. The plain view doctrine is a legal principle that allows law enforcement officers to seize evidence without a warrant if it is in plain view during a lawful observation. For evidence to be admissible under the plain view doctrine, 3 conditions must be met. 1. The officer must have a lawful right to be in the location where the evidence is observed. 2. The incriminating nature of the evidence must be immediately apparent. And 3. The discovery of the evidence must be inadvertent. The doctrine enables law enforcement officers to lawfully seize evidence that is in plain view, such as contraband or weapons, during the course of their duties without violating Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable searches and seizures. Understanding the limitations and requirements of the plain view doctrine is essential for law enforcement officers to conduct lawful searches and seizures while respecting individuals' constitutional rights. Question 25. What is the primary goal of community-oriented policing strategies? A. To increase the number of arrests made by law enforcement agencies. B. To centralize law enforcement authority within communities. C. To build collaborative partnerships between law enforcement agencies and community members to address crime and public safety concerns. D. To militarize law enforcement agencies in response to community protests. Correct answer. C. To build collaborative partnerships between law enforcement agencies and community members to address crime and public safety concerns. Explanation. Community-oriented policing, COP, strategies emphasize collaboration, communication, and problem-solving between law enforcement agencies and community members to address crime and public safety concerns effectively. The primary goal of COP is to build trust, mutual respect, and shared responsibility for public safety within communities. By fostering collaborative partnerships, COP seeks to empower communities to identify and prioritize local crime issues, develop tailored solutions, and implement proactive crime prevention initiatives. Unlike traditional law enforcement approaches focused solely on reactive responses to crime, COP emphasizes community engagement, problem-solving, and crime prevention through partnerships, outreach, and collaborative problem-solving efforts. COP strategies aim to create safer, healthier, and more resilient communities by addressing underlying causes of crime and promoting positive relationships between law enforcement agencies and the communities they serve. Question 26. What is the primary purpose of the Miranda warning given by law enforcement officers to suspects? A. To inform suspects of their rights to an attorney and a fair trial. B. To intimidate suspects into confessing to crimes. C. To coerce suspects into waiving their constitutional rights. D. To deceive suspects about the evidence against them. Correct answer: A. To inform suspects of their rights to an attorney and a fair trial. Explanation: the Miranda warning is a legal requirement derived from the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution, which protects individuals' rights against self-incrimination during police interrogations. Law enforcement officers are required to inform suspects of their Miranda rights, including the right to remain silent and the right to an attorney, before conducting custodial interrogations. The purpose of the Miranda warning is to ensure that suspects are aware of their constitutional rights and can make informed decisions about whether to waive or invoke those rights during police questioning. Failure to provide the Miranda warning may result in the exclusion of any statements obtained during the interrogation from being used as evidence in court proceedings. Understanding and adhering to Miranda rights are essential for law enforcement officers to conduct lawful interrogations while respecting individuals' constitutional protections. Question 27. Which of the following is an example of a nonverbal communication skill important for law enforcement officers? A. Interrupting individuals while they are speaking. B. Using aggressive gestures to assert authority. C. Maintaining a calm demeanor and neutral body language. D. Speaking loudly to intimidate suspects. Correct answer: C. Maintaining a calm demeanor and neutral body language. Explanation: nonverbal communication plays a significant role in law enforcement interactions and can influence the outcome of police encounters. Maintaining a calm demeanor and neutral body language conveys professionalism, confidence, and respect during interactions with individuals, regardless of the circumstances. It helps de-escalate tense situations, minimize misunderstandings, and build rapport with community members. Interrupting individuals or using aggressive gestures can escalate tensions and undermine effective communication. Speaking loudly may be perceived as intimidating or confrontational, hindering productive dialogue. Effective nonverbal communication skills, including maintaining a calm demeanor and neutral body language, are essential for law enforcement officers to establish trust, de-escalate conflicts, and promote positive interactions with the public. Question 28. What is the purpose of the chain of custody in law enforcement investigations? A. To track the movement and whereabouts of law enforcement officers during investigations. B. To establish a chronological record of events leading to a criminal incident. C. To document the handling and custody of evidence to ensure its integrity and admissibility in court. D. To identify individuals involved in criminal activities through forensic analysis. Correct answer: C. To document the handling and custody of evidence to ensure its integrity and admissibility in court. Explanation: the chain of custody is a procedural protocol used in law enforcement investigations to document the handling and custody of evidence from the time it is collected until it is presented in court. The primary purpose of the chain of custody is to ensure the integrity and admissibility of evidence by establishing a documented trail of its movement and custody. Each person who handles the evidence must document their actions and maintain a chronological record of custody transfers. This helps prevent tampering, contamination, or loss of evidence, which could compromise its reliability and credibility in court proceedings. Adhering to the chain of custody protocol is essential for upholding the evidentiary standards necessary for fair and impartial judicial proceedings. Question 29. Which of the following statements best describes the concept of qualified immunity in law enforcement? A. Qualified immunity shields law enforcement officers from liability for civil damages in certain circumstances when performing discretionary functions, unless their conduct violates clearly established statutory or constitutional rights. B. Qualified immunity grants law enforcement officers absolute immunity from liability for civil damages regardless of their actions or conduct. C. Qualified immunity applies only to criminal cases and does not protect law enforcement officers from civil lawsuits. D. Qualified immunity imposes strict liability on law enforcement officers for any actions taken in the line of duty. Correct answer: A. Qualified immunity shields law enforcement officers from liability for civil damages in certain circumstances when performing discretionary functions, unless their conduct violates clearly established statutory or constitutional rights. Explanation: Qualified immunity is a legal doctrine that shields government officials, including law enforcement officers, from civil liability for damages in certain circumstances when performing discretionary functions within the scope of their duties. Under qualified immunity, government officials are immune from civil lawsuits unless their conduct violates clearly established statutory or constitutional rights of which a reasonable person would have known. Qualified immunity is intended to balance the need to hold government officials accountable for misconduct while protecting them from undue harassment and litigation in the performance of their duties. However, it does not grant absolute immunity and may be overcome if the plaintiff can demonstrate that the official's actions violated clearly established law. Qualified immunity is an important consideration in assessing the legal standards governing law enforcement conduct and accountability. Question 30. What is the primary purpose of the National Incident Management System, NIMS, in emergency response? A. To centralize all emergency response efforts under federal control. B. To provide standardized procedures and protocols for coordinated emergency response at all levels of government. C. To prioritize the safety of law enforcement officers over other emergency responders. D. To restrict access to emergency response resources based on jurisdictional boundaries. Correct answer: B. To provide standardized procedures and protocols for coordinated emergency response at all levels of government. Explanation: The National Incident Management System, NIMS, is a comprehensive framework established by the federal government to enhance coordination and interoperability in emergency response efforts across all levels of government, agencies, and jurisdictions. It provides standardized procedures, protocols, and terminology for managing incidents, regardless of their size or complexity, to ensure a coordinated and effective response. NIMS promotes collaboration, communication, and resource sharing among emergency responders, including law enforcement, fire services, emergency medical services, and public health agencies. By establishing a common operating structure and language, NIMS improves the efficiency, effectiveness, and resilience of emergency response operations, ultimately enhancing public safety and community preparedness.